Hello, Explora bookworms. Welcome again to the program where we explore and talk books. This is Joel, and buckle up because Explora Talks starts right now. Good morning, good noon, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Joel, and I'm your resident host for Explora Talks, where we explore and talk books. For this program, ladies and gents, we have a very special author who is on standby, who has written a lot of books. He has written 16 in total, and finally, he is going to publish a book with Explora Books, and we're very excited to uncover and dig deep into the story of Mr. Dennis W.C. Wong, a very prolific author, and as I've said, he has written a lot of books, and mind you guys, he has actually written 16 books and of different genre. He has written a memoir, an adventure fantasy, a lot of different genres. He has also written a poetry book, imagine that, and he really is a very prolific author, and we're very excited to talk to him more about his life, his inspiration, his writing inspiration, and what this book that he is set to publish with Explora Books, which is Over the Distant Mountain Ranges and Beyond. This is a collation of 4 books that he has written. We're very excited to talk to him, but before that, ladies and gents and Explora bookworms, we are going to London Book Fair, as I've mentioned in the previous episodes of Explora Talks. We are very excited to welcome you to London. If you are interested to go to London and present your book there to your prospective investors, to book lovers, to book investors, this is a B2B event that is happening specifically in Olympia Events London, the very historic Olympia Events Center. Please go to explorabooks.com and get to know on how you can join the Explora Books booth and be exposed to thousands of investors in London. This could also be your side trip to a very good, let's say, start of the year. If you want to start your year right, this is happening on March 13 to 15. And you would just want to go to London to explore the city, the beautiful London, and all that there is in London, in Europe. You can go to Scotland if you'd like. If you like, this would be an opportunity for you to tour around London and UK and the European nations. This would be an exciting trip for you and for your book. So please do check out explorabooks.com for more information. We will be located at the booth 3838, and we're already bringing a couple of books there. Your book might be just one of them that we will expose to the investors and to the book investors, to the publishing industry. So again, the London International Book Fair 2025 is just around the corner. Please make sure to grab your spot right now. We're still open for book signing, by the way. You can bring 50 books right there or 100 books, no matter how many it is, and you can just talk to investors and give them a copy of your book. How amazing that is. So please do grab your chance, Explora bookworms, and especially those authors that have published already their books. If you haven't published your book with any publisher, of course, we're inviting you to do your publication with us through Explora Books. Please do check out explorabooks.com to get to know the publishing packages that we're offering. We have a couple of publishing packages that you can choose from, which also includes marketing your book. So it's not just publishing, ladies and gents. It's also about marketing your book and making noise and making your target audiences be informed about the publication of your book. So please do get to check out that explorabooks.com website and get to know more about our publishing and marketing packages. So since we're excited for London, here's our teaser of our London International Book Fair 2025 participation at Explora Books booth 3838. Let's all watch this.
The biggest, the most anticipated, most prestigious, most celebrated business-to-business book event in the history of literature. Finally, Explora Books goes to the London Book Fair 2025. Set the scene. Start the story. Save the date. Be seen and be discovered in the biggest book fair that changed hundreds of author lives. Be part of the history as it unfolds with Explora Books. March 11 to 13, 2025 at Olympia Events London, United Kingdom. Book display, book signing, meet and greet visitors, meet investors, meet clients, tell your story, traditional publishers and book buyers. Take your story to the next level. Watch history unfold. The London Book Fair 2025 at Olympia, London, United Kingdom. With Explora Books. Reserve your spot now. Call 236-259-4886.
Hello, Explora Book Talks. As I've said earlier, we have a very important guest, a special guest who is about to become one of the Explora Books published author. And he is going to publish a very amazing book. This is a very interesting book. It's actually a collation of 4 books that he's written. He's a prolific writer and he's written over the distant mountain ranges and beyond. And I'm talking about Mr. Dennis Wong. Dennis, welcome to the program. Welcome to Explora Talks.
Well, thank you. I want to also say that I have a middle initial W.C. So all my books will say Dennis W.C. Wong, because there's another author named Dennis Wong that wrote a couple of books like Chinese murder mystery, and he was from Singapore. So then people have asked me, what about your other books? And they tell me the name of the title. I said, oh, that's not me.
I see. All right. So do not forget, guys.
My books will say, yes, we'll have my WC initial.
All right. So we will never forget to put their WC. That's your middle initial. So Dennis W.C. Wong, Over the Distant Mountain Ranges. Welcome again to the program, Dennis. Where are you from? Can you talk us where you are right now, Dennis? I'm sure our viewers would be very interested to know where you are at this point.
Yeah, originally I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii. And then my father was working as a welder at a naval shipyard at Pearl Harbor. Mm-hmm. And one day when he was in the Army, he came to the mainland, which is the main United States, and he visited his cousin and his aunt, and he loved it out here. So then he decided to move the family, and he transferred to Hunters Point, a naval shipyard, also as a welder. So we moved in 1958, actually 1 month before it became a state, before it was a territory. And then we stayed in the San Francisco area for a couple of years, and then we eventually moved to Hayward. And so I'm in Hayward now since 1960.
Wow. It's amazing. You've been moving to different places, Dennis, and is it with your family? You have kids and a wife right now. Are they with you?
We have 2 boys together, and then I have a stepdaughter.
All right, that's perfect. Now, Dennis, I want to know your inspiration for writing, because not everyone can write and not everyone is interested to write. More so, not everyone has a talent to write. And I have seen your manuscript. I've seen some of the Kindle versions of your book, and I can sense that you really have this gift for writing. How did you start into this writing, this writing skill, honing this writing talent of yours? Can you talk more about that?
Well, at first I never considered myself a writer. In the year 2005, I took a psychology class in college, and our term paper was a biography of a senior relative. At that time, my mom was alive. My father had passed away years before that. So then at that time, she was 77 years old. So I turned in the paper, and then I decided to add, since I'm the oldest of 6 children, I decided to add pictures and make it more of a book. And then I went to FedEx Kinko's, and I paid them to make copies and laminate it. And I distributed 20 copies to my siblings and also friends and people that know us. That's how it started. And then through DNA research, one lady in the Maryland area contacted me because she was a distant cousin to my wife. And she told me that she had written a book, 400 pages, about her the DNA roots back to the slaves, and and went back to like the 1600s. And she has that book also in the public library. And then somehow the Discovery Channel found out about it, and they did a documentary about her family. And so I
Wow.
never thought about actually publishing it on my own. So one day I went to Google search, and I searched one company was called Lulu, and I found out that I didn't talk to anybody, but I just want to see what the prices are to publish. And I saw the price for 1,700, and so that's too much. So and then 6 months later, I got a phone call from a self-publishing company and wanting to republish my book. And I said I never really published it. So that's how it started.
Okay.
So
And the
then
rest is
I
history.
changed
Yeah.
I changed the name from a senior biography of my mother, Catherine Gunhung Wong, and then her middle name Gunhung in Chinese means apricot outlook, or outlook apricot. So I made the title the Apricot Outlook of Catherine Gunhung Wong. So that's how that first was published. And then I
How many
did
years
the
ago?
Power of Passion. Oh,
Yeah. How many years ago
so
was this,
that was
Dennis?
6 years ago,
Okay.
2018.
That was your first
And then
book that you published 6 years ago.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
But
And then
originally, I
after
did
that,
the
for
paper
sure.
back in 2005, but I didn't have it officially published until 2018.
Mm, wow. And so far, I'm excited to know how many books have you published since that fateful date?
I have about 16. I followed up with
Wow.
a story, a romance story between my cousin family
Mhm.
and my family in Honolulu. And then I never
Mhm.
thought about doing a children's book. So I did
Mhm.
one children's book about, I took the word apricot and
Mhm.
I kind of segregated and put APP, I,
Yeah.
and cot. And I
Mhm.
had seen a movie from Robin Williams way back about the Bicentennial Man, where he was a
Mhm.
robot and he wanted to become
Mhm.
human. So I
Mhm.
made Appy, which is the main character,
Mhm.
an app, and he would serve me, and he would continue to maintain himself, and eventually he was able to beat a plum in a place called Plumville because he wanted to be an engineer. And then he asked me about going to uh, the school to learn engineering. So I released him. So he was on his own. And
Wow.
and then somebody wrote to me when they read my book that it should be a series. I never thought about continuing the series. So I continued
Mhm.
with him going to college and starting a family and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So that it came out to 6 parts. So that's a six book. And recently, a couple of months ago, I put all six in one book and made it into a
Mhm.
hardback. So I'm trying to get that
Wow.
into the library because the hardback books are more, they prefer that in the library because they last longer than the paperback.
Wow, that's
And then,
amazing. You have written
and then,
a children's book. You have, well, what else did you write?
of course, a series with the Over the Distant Mountain Ranges. And
Mm.
then a couple of years later, a person read my first book about my mom, and I had two
Mhm.
poems in it. And he said he
Mhm.
had contact with the Chicken Soup for the Soul. So he says,
Yeah.
Mr. Wong, can you write another 10 more books and I'll submit it? I said, I'm not a poet. So he said, try. So I added 10 more poems. And then so I
Mm.
had his company that he was working with in the Philippines publish it. So it came out to only
Mm.
13 poems. And then after several months, I said, well, what's going on? What's the update? He said, well, we need more. You know, I submitted your 10, but we need at least 10 more. So I said, how much time you give me? He said, well, I'll give you 2 months. So within a month, I did another 10. I submitted it. And now I got over 55 poems in the book called Ode to Thy
Wow.
Apricot. And I was doing DNA research about my family. And I found out through my cousin that her grandfather had gone to China back in
Mhm.
1947 to 1948 and on a 14 and a
Mhm.
half month trip to the Orient.
Mhm.
And it was a diary that he kept, a travel log all that time. And finally, I got her permission to publish it. So that's my last book, The Chronicles of an Oriental Adventure.
Wow, that's a lot. And I can say that your books are so diverse. There's a lot of different it's like an ingredient of, so there's a lot of ingredients there. You have a children's book, you have a memoir, and this time you have the Over the Distant Mountain Ranges, which is this time it's not just four books. You're gonna collate it into one. And I'd like to know this time, Dennis, what is the story of Over the Distant Mountain Ranges, and what is your inspiration for writing that? Can we now dive deep into this story? Let's talk about the first book first, of course. Over the
Okay,
Distant
sure, sure.
Mountain Ranges. Yeah.
Okay, the main character is Lucinda. She's an 8-year-old girl, and she always played down by the river. But then she didn't know how to swim. So then her
Mhm.
mother would keep telling her, "Don't get in too close. Don't get into too close."
Yeah.
Well, one day she woke up early before her parents were up, and she decided to dive in a little bit deeper into the river, and she started
Mhm.
drowning. And then luckily her father heard her and rescued her, and her mother was so devastated. She thought maybe she lost her only child.
Mhm.
And 2 years later, she wanted to go up and see her grandparents up on the distant mountain range. So her mother says, "Okay." She wanted to go for a month. Because no, no, only 2 weeks. I'll come back and pick you up in 2 weeks. But
Mhm.
she enjoyed the 2 weeks. She went. She stayed with her grandparents, and so then she came back down after the 2 weeks. But for some reason, the village had a outbreak, an epidemic that wiped
Yeah.
out the whole town. And
Mhm.
then her parents told her before they went to bed, you should leave because you might catch it. So she slept, and the next morning when she woke up, her parents had died. Everybody in the village had passed away. So she
Wow.
went up to
And she's left
the
alone.
mountain
Yeah.
to visit her grandparents, and then her grandfather came down to verify. Yes, I'm sorry that your parents have passed away. And then in the mountain, he had a stable with two horses.
Mhm.
So she went in to
Mhm.
feed the horse, and for some reason she heard a voice, Lucinda, Lucinda, and she couldn't find out who was talking. And
Yeah.
finally, she found out that the two horses, her parents' spirit went into two horses. Her mother's voice was in the white horse, and her father's voice was in the brown horse. And so that's
Wow.
how she was able to communicate. And she kept going to the stable every day to feed them and take care of them,
Mhm.
because she knew that her parents, she could be still close to them, because she felt at the age of
Mhm.
10 years old, she was too young, to be an orphan, and lose her parents.
Yeah.
And then,
Wow.
but the thing was, that spirit in the horses will only last 5 years. So after
Mhm.
15, at the age of 15, her birthday, she goes, "Happy birthday, dear," and we won't be able to see you
Mhm.
anymore because our spirit only lasted for 5 years. But then later
Mhm.
on, she met other people, goddesses,
Mhm.
and so on, to help her, uh, get in touch with her parents, which she finally did at the end. And there was one lady named, actually a 3-in-1 beast named Anya, and
Mhm.
she befriended her and became her friend, and helped her with
Mhm.
some advice. And so then, and at the end, she was able to recover her
Mhm.
actual parents. I don't know if I should go on more. I might uh, tell too much about the story, but I don't know how much more you want me to add.
All right. And we don't want to spill all the beans because for sure a lot of readers would want to, want to know what happened to Anya and to the main character. Now, Beyond the Ranges is the next book that is like a sequel to this first book that you have. What is the
Yes.
Beyond the Ranges this time?
Well, Beyond the Range continues on her journey to find out who she is,
Mm,
and her background, and what was
mm,
in her future. So that was
mm.
a beyond, because I wasn't going to do
Yeah.
a sequel until I had a comment that said this
Mm,
should be a network sequel. And then she meets all these people, and then they're able to help her along. And in the meantime, she's still staying with her grandparents, but her grandparents don't know that she can talk to her parents
yeah.
back in the first
Communication. Yeah.
book. Right, right. And they thought she was
Mhm.
crazy. And then finally, she says, "Okay, I'll tell you what. At 3 o'clock or at midnight, you can come and meet me here in the woods, and then you can see your children, which they finally did. They saw their spirit, and at the end, they become a real through an individual that came to her to help her, and she was reincarnated.
Wow, that's interesting. So it's a story of adventure of Lucinda and talking to spirits, which of course is something that's I think that's one of the things that makes this story very unique. It's because it actually could make you connect emotionally to the life of Lucinda. A lot of people have lost their parents and have gone astray and they don't know where to go. It's like being lost, and everyone can get to relate to that because at some point in our lives we get lost into get lost away from the people who really love us. Now this time I want us to talk about Anya being this another protagonist. That is, what is the role of Anya in this story, and how does she help Lucinda into finding herself and fulfilling her
Well,
destiny?
well, yeah. When Anya first came to her, she came to her as a wolf. That was one of her 3-in-1 beast, and
Mm.
she was going to kill her, and then
Mm.
she didn't know what to do, and so she asked
Yeah.
other people that came to her, which in the form of goddesses, and
Mm.
they said that just do what you can,
Mm.
and then when Anya came back again, she bowed
Mm.
to Anya, and she didn't expect it. She goes, "Oh, I am humble, and you bow to me. Now, I'm not your enemy. Now I'm your friend." So, but something she did out of and she didn't know how to get rid of this beast. But by bowing to her, it's like I'm you're in my honor and so on. So then she became her friend and helped her to try to find a way to continue with her parents, which
Wow, that's
at
so
the
interesting.
end, I said, right.
Yeah, go ahead, Dennis. Yeah.
Oh, like I said, she was her one of her dear friends, but at first she was a protagonist and an enemy,
Mm. Yeah.
and
Okay.
she didn't know how to get rid of. And Lucinda didn't know how to get rid of Anya, so
Oh,
she just kind of wept and knelt down and bowed, in front of her, like she was the queen.
yeah.
And
And she
so,
becomes like a part of this whole adventure of
yes,
Lucinda
yes,
afterwards.
that's why one whole book was about Anya.
And you wrote the last book, which is actually the last book of the collated books of Over the Distant Mountain Ranges and Beyond, which is Annalise's Wish. Can you talk more about what this is about and how important is this last book of this somewhat like a series that you've written?
Yeah, on Annalise's wish, she comes to her grandmother and asks her, "Can you tell me the story behind my mother's birth?" So she
Mm.
told her how she always wanted a child, and she miscarried so many times, but she only wanted at least one. So
Mm.
finally, I guess God listened to her, and she had one child, which is Lucinda's mother, Annalisa.
Yeah.
And then she said
Mm.
the same thing happened to Annalisa
Mm.
too, where Annalisa
Wow.
for 5 years couldn't conceive, and she kept miscarrying. And then finally, she was when she was pregnant with Lucinda. Finally, it lasted, but uh, her husband was concerned that uh, you
Mm.
know, and then the good thing was, she was born, so that was the beginning because she wanted to find out the story about the birth, and then at
So
the
a lot
end,
of revelations and secrets
right,
are being like, let out in this last book that you have. Yes, go ahead, Dennis.
right, and then originally I only had 11 chapters in that last book, but
Mhm.
I didn't finish the story, so instead of doing a fifth book,
Mm.
I decided to add
Wow.
two more chapters. So I added
Mhm.
chapter 12 and 13, and finally it
Yeah.
ended. So it was like a revised version of Annalisa's Wish. So the original one only came out with 11 chapters, but it didn't end there. And then at the end, it became 13. So I left it at the 13, so it ended. Everybody was happy.
Yeah, yeah, and for sure that it's gonna be it's a momentous event for Lucinda and all these characters in that last part, which is not yet published at this time. It will be published in your new book, and you guys, all our viewers, have to watch out for Over the Distant Mountain Ranges and Beyond. This will be published under Explora Books. We'd like to thank you, Dennis, for your trust in Explora Books for publishing all these books together. I think this is a very remarkable thing that you've done, having all these 4 books collated into one. And it will now be Over the Distant Mountain Ranges and Beyond, which will be available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble online, and Kobo and all these major retailing outlets such as Google Books. Now, I want to know from you, Dennis. You're in your workplace right now for sure, and you have a family. You for sure, you as an Asian, just like me, I'm a migrant from Asia as well. I think that the family values that we have is really what sets us apart from other, from other continents, from other nationalities, from other people. Tell us about the connection of this family values that you have with the story of Lucinda, which is clearly a story of family, all right, and finding your destiny. So can you share us about, what is your inspiration for writing this kind of story? Because this is a very different story than what you've written before, for sure.
Yeah, I wanted variety because if you look at some of the major authors, they only delve in what they call one genre. And I decided to try all different genres. And so then I think that my variety makes me more, not popular, but I guess more of a well-rounded author that can write different genres rather than just only one.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So what's your inspiration for writing this story? Like what popped up in your mind before you have written the story? Like, as a writer, and I'm a writer myself, there is a certain part where you have to think about, there's a thinking process, a creative process that you have to go through before you can actually write the story. And how did you get to write the story? Is it like something that came up from your dream, or Okay, we're back with Dennis, ladies and gents, and Explora Bookworms. Has written the book Over the Distant Mountain Ranges and Beyond, and it will be published under Explora Books. Welcome back, Dennis. We lost you a while ago, but let's continue where we left off. We left off with the question, what is your writing process? Because a lot of writers, Dennis, have this process wherein they have to brainstorm. And knowing you as a prolific author, you have written a lot of genres, different genres for the 16 books that you've written. What is your writing process and how did it come about?
Well, a good example is my children's book, which is the Appy series. So the first one was The App I Caught, Journey to Plumville, Empowering Kids to Overcome Adversity. And even though I wasn't bullied in school, I came close one time when I was in the 7th grade. And I was walking down the hallway and I accidentally bumped into this one guy. He was my classmate. And I knew that he was out. He had gone, well, his sport was wrestling, so he was a big wrestler, and I wanted to get involved with him. So after it looked like he wasn't going to pick a fight with me. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I just and so nothing happened." But the company I was dealing with said, "Why don't you add the bullying story since that's kind of popular?" So I had finished the book, and I added an extra 3 chapters. So that's how that came about. Through my agent that I was dealing with for publishing. And then the story goes that he goes to a school. And when I moved to Hayward, the Tennyson High School was 95% white, Caucasian. And there was very few blacks or Mexicans or Asian. So I felt, a minority. So that was part of it. And then in my family, we have multiple twins in our family. My grandmother is the oldest of 2 sets of twins. Then
Wow.
my sister had twin boys, and then my uncle had a twin boy and girl, and my two nieces
Mhm.
have two twins also. Two they were girls, so that was part of my story. And then COVID hit, and then my agent again suggested I write a story about the COVID. So that's why the third book was Appy Overcomes COVID. And then in my fourth
I
book, I was
see.
getting ready to retire. So then my character Appy retires about 2 months before I actually retired.
Mhm. I see.
And then the
Wow.
last two was he starts a family, and then he becomes
Mhm.
recognized for his awards. So at the last one, I did receive like a marquee, a who's who,
Mhm.
and they gave me a certificate and for all the things that I've done. So I'm in the 2000 and I think 22 book of Who's Who
Wow.
marquee. So some of it
Wow,
was a
that's
kind of a life
amazing.
story about me,
Wow.
the kind
So
of
everything
experience that
is
I had.
really it is
Right.
connected to the people around you, to the experiences that you had. And, I want to know about the lessons because actually a lot of readers right now, Dennis, they're really up for the lessons. What can I get from this? Well, how can I make my life better from this one? A lot of books, such as self-help books, for example, they're pretty straightforward. You would know how to, get motivated in starting up a business or how you can, how can you be better with your relationships? Now, this over the distant mountain ranges and beyond, there should be a life lesson that is very golden for this story. What do you think is that golden lesson that everybody can pick up from this masterpiece of yours?
I know that it's hard to lose a loved one, especially if it's a parent or an uncle or sister. I lost my sister when she was 50 years old. She was the
Mhm.
fourth child,
Yeah.
and I still miss her sometimes. And I would dream about her and also my father, and it seemed like in my
Mhm.
dream, seemed like
Mhm.
it's in reality. And then I wake up and what I had remembered was that they're still living.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I did a story about my mom, she passed away 2014. So I
Mhm.
want to try to get my book to film, to at least get one of my books that way. And the way she grew up and raised the family, especially the
Wow,
last
that's
30 years
amazing.
without our father.
Yeah, of course. Moms is they are the vessel of the family, and your mom is also the vessel of your own family. This book of yours really is an inspiration for those who are trying to still mend a broken heart from a loss of a loved one. And Lucinda in that story was able to talk to them. Somehow in our lives, we're able to you know they also left a mark on us, and the mark is the communication right there could probably be the lessons that we've learned from them. We're actually acting it out right now. This is what we're doing in our day-to-day lives, how we interact with people, the values that we have in ourselves are actually coming from our parents as well. Do you think that way as well, Dennis? What have you picked up from your parents, from your mom especially? What values were
Well,
there?
well, most of the time, my mom they only wanted a small family, like four. But for some
Mhm.
reason, when we moved to San Francisco, she got pregnant, and then she wanted to stop at five. But then when we moved to
Yeah.
Hayward, again she was pregnant, so we had six.
Mm,
And then
okay, it's a big family.
my father decided to have a vasectomy.
Mm. Right, it's a big family. I mean, you must have a very nice reunion. You should be there should be a lot of people in your reunion for sure.
There is,
Family
and
reunions. Mhm.
especially when our kids were young, and then their cousins were about the same age. So
Mhm.
they would go around together for trick or treating and things like that, or go on camping
Mhm.
trips, places like that. And then when they got older, now they got married, they have their own children. Now we don't see each
Mhm.
other much.
Mhm. I see. Wow, that's an amazing family story that you have right there, Dennis. Now, again, for all our Explora bookworms and our viewers, please do go to Amazon. Maybe I think in a month time you will already have this book published, Over the Distant Mountain Ranges and Beyond, a new book by Mr. Dennis W.C. Wong. And let me reiterate that that's W.C. because there's another author with the same name, Dennis Wong. Make sure that you key in Dennis W.C. Wong, that is the author of Over the Distant Mountain Ranges and Beyond, with actually 16 books on his belt. Thank you for your time, Dennis. But before we part ways, Dennis, I'd like you to challenge our viewers and invite them to grab the book that you have that is coming and the books that you have. I'll give you the time to invite everyone to buy your book, to purchase it.
Well, the challenge is that don't give up. When I started my journey by writing books, and especially when I get a verified purchaser that writes a column, poems and wants me to write some more. And I said, I'm not a poet. So again, he encouraged me. And now instead of only 2 poems, now I have 55 poems.
Wow. It's just a matter of
still don't
starting
consider myself
it.
a poet. Yeah, I still don't consider me a poet, though. But that starts when someone sees something and he goes, I love your 2 poems. You have a unique style. You should write some more.
Yeah. And you just have to do it. I think what's important is being able to start it off. Off. Sometimes we're so busy with work, we're so busy with a lot of things, but it's a matter of really doing it now and not procrastinating. Am I right, Dennis?
That is, if you procrastinate, it just lingers on, and then you forget about it until something happens, and then I should have done this. But sometimes it might be too late.
And the fire dies down. Thank you so much, Dennis.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dennis, for your time. Again, for all our Explora bookworms, Over the Distant Mountain Ranges and Beyond will be published by Explora Books in just a few weeks from now. It will be out on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. We're very excited for your book, Dennis, and thank you for your time. Happy holidays. Enjoy your Christmas.
Happy holidays. You too.
Thank you very much. Goodbye for now. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Bye-bye.
And that was it, ladies and gents, Explora Bookworms, Mr. Dennis W.C. Wong, a very prolific author. Imagine that he has written 16 books in total. And finally, he's going to be part of our roster of authors at Explora Books. Mr. Dennis Wong, thank you so much for your time with us here at Explora Talks. Again, please do wait for for the publishing of his book, which is Over the Distant Mountain Ranges and Beyond, which will be published under Explora Books. If you want to know if his book is already published or not, go to our website and go to our bookstore. Again, that's explorabooks.com, and then just put a / right there and go to bookstore, or key in bookstore, Over the Distant Mountain Ranges and Beyond by Dennis W.C. Wong. Thank you for that. Now, there are actually a lot of other books that we've published under Explora, and we're very proud to present one of them, which is this beautiful book right there, written by Paul W. Sherry, one of our Explora Books authors. He has written a book that is already available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Google Books, Kobo, and all leading digital bookstores. Legacy of Hope. As the title states, it actually gives hope to the hopeless. It's a fresh look at faith, written by Paul Sherry. An amazing book. If you have lost your way, if you think that there's no hope for your situation, if you think that you are battling with anxiety, depression, and you feel like there's no community that is ready to embrace you and to make you feel better, this book is a self-help book and a Christian book at the same time, who can mend the broken heart, and it could give a flicker of hope to those who are hopeless and who feels like they're in an endless tunnel. There is light at the end of the tunnel, as the cliche says, and this book definitely uncovers the light at the end of the tunnel. Legacy of Hope, a fresh look at faith by Paul Sherry. Please do grab this title, this book. It's available via Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Google Books, or you can simply go to explorabooks.com/bookstore. So, We will be back in our next segment next week with another author. Thank you once again to all our bookworms and book lovers who were with us for the past 40 minutes. Thank you for your time. Again, till our next episode, this is Joel, your resident host for Explora Talks. See you next time here where we explore and talk books. See you again next time. Goodbye.